that, a very warm welcome, everyone, to the second day of this conference. And it's very early for us in Europe, middle in the night for the Americas, and afternoon, I think, for you in Japan. And so, Mari, I would like to hand over to you to get started. And thank you very much for joining us.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ernst, for the great coordination so far for this conference. And then welcome to the speakers and participants from Japan. We will try to start this humanistic management activities in Japan, and then let's see what we can bring out today. So that let me share the screen. Okay, so this is the program for Japan, and so what I would do is I will shut my mouth in a minute, but we try to address the well-being and SDGs. SDGs has been quite booming in Japan, and then also after the COVID, the well-being orientations spoken about, and then that there are some like a Nikkei newspaper talking about next SDGs is going to be the well-being, etc. But that concept has quite a broad meaning on that, and then so we tried to approach, and then that was going to be the center of the humanistic management. So that's the topic, and then we will start with the Professor Sadoi, and then Dr. Chapeau's, Professor Chapeau's scope. I'm so sorry, my pronunciation is right. It's not right. Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mari. Thank you so much. And I'd like to share the screen just a moment. Okay. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for introducing me and including me us for the conference. Our topic is the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on work style in Japan, and effect on decentralization of Tokyo and development. The aim of the paper is we have mainly 3 points to evaluate the effect of decentralization in Tokyo metropolitan area and also the local development. What is the relationship, and then what it is about. And the second one is to define the current impact on telework of management, communication style, business culture, and work style of Japanese companies. For the third one, to propose the potential impact on telework on management, communication style, business culture, and work style of the Japanese companies. And first, we'd like to explain about the situation before the COVID-19, especially about the Tokyo metropolitan area. There were quite many problems of urban concentration. First, about the population of Tokyo metropolitan area is 36 million. About 30% of the Japan total is concentrated on that area. And the second one is about the 91% of people moving in Tokyo metropolitan area is between the 15 to 29 years old, which are really the young generation. Before, can I just look at show the chart? This is from 2010 to 2019. The number of people moving into Tokyo metropolitan area by age. As you can see, the majority of the age, 91% are in the between 15 to 29. And as you can see, for the university students to get in the university in Tokyo area, and also they are going to Tokyo for the job opportunities. So, and what are the problem for that? Because as you know, the Tokyo is very crowded place, and commuting is really tough and hard. Take hours and hardest, as you can see. And also, the cost of living is very high there. And then, in addition for that, as you know, Japan is aged society, and the total fertility rate is quite low in total Japan. But especially in the Tokyo area, the total fertility rate is 1.15, which is the lowest in Japan. Maybe because the young generation are quite stressful, and condition is not relaxed for that. Then the decentralization is very important issue for. Then for before the COVID-19 and in 2015, like a government policy of the regional development launched. And that is for the decentralization and to give the young people good, relaxed environment for the raising children, and also create a strong local industry structure to get a better job opportunity. And the government set up policies like support local SMEs for the fund, also help human resource development, and then help to promote the local university to get upgraded. Also helps the startups relocation of business, and provide a better housing service or something like that. However, it started 2015, but until before the COVID-19, only the few regions achieved such goals. Why the result is not so impressive? Then, however, fortunately or unfortunately, the COVID-19 started from 2020, and the business telework and the remote work started. And also telework rapidly increased. About 70% of Tokyo metropolitan area applied telework and implemented, especially in a large corporation. From April 2020, the Tokyo metropolitan area showed a sharp drop of people moving in, and continued to increase of people moving out. The decline of the express immigration is not due to the increase of out migration, but rather to decrease the immigration to the Tokyo area, especially young generation of 20s and 30s. And that may be because of business slowdown, but fortunately it create relocating headquarters for the large corporation, and also set up satellite offices, and it helps the local development and educating upgrading. As the map of Japan shows, some Kyushu or Shikoku area, and also Hokkaido or Tohoku area. There are several headquarters relocated those areas. And this figure shows that the young generation, like 20 to 30s, they are the big decrease. So that means many young people go to the Tokyo area for university or the job opportunity, decided not to go and then find something else in the local area. So, so effect of a decentralization of Tokyo and local development show the positive result by COVID-19. But how about the conflict of sociological stress and the management culture, work style with the Japanese management? We see any changes, and is it easy? And there are many challenges for people and companies. So we focus on that issue and we like discuss this point. Okay, so from now on, it's the Sergei-san. Could you start for that?
Greetings from Moscow, Russia. I'm very glad to be here, and thank you so much for this invitation to make a presentation. Once again, thank you. So let me follow what Sadoi-san said. So we would like to study the effect of telework on business. And telework is a part of digital or DX in Japan. And because of COVID, in Japan, they pay so much attention to this point, to telework as a part of digital transformation. And for us, it's really interesting to understand how telework, how digital transformation can change very traditional, very famous Japanese management, Japanese business culture, work style, companies in Japan, and communication style. Well, thanks to Japanese management, Japan could achieve very high level of economic development. However, it's a turning point right now where to go, and digital transformation has a significant impact on traditional basement of Japanese management. So let us understand the most important elements that are changing slowly but sure, and let us try to foresee how much changes could be seen and what kind of new measures might be created in this country, in Japan. So this is, could you please change the slide? Thank you so much. So we would like to show important elements of our culture, business culture, and management, and their transformation. So we have many points to be mentioned, but unfortunately, due to the time limitation, we cannot cover all of them. So we'll talk about time availability, working hours, lack of communication, working environment in Japanese companies, internal system of communication, psychological aspects, and conflict inside of Japanese people. Time availability is connected to lack of communication as well, and other things. So could you please change the slide? Thank you. So, dear colleagues, all of you can speak Japanese. Many of you are the Japanese, and you understand very well what is written here. But let us discuss all these points together. So, first of all, I would like to start with so-called sealed culture of Japan. We know that seals or hanko income, it's an integral part of business operations. However, digital transformation and work is changing it. And today, in Japan, Japanese business, they use electronic seals. So we see this transformation of this very traditional culture. Second one, business cards, or so-called income. And this culture of business cards is deeply rooted in the Japanese culture. It's not just retail to exchange, but it's also about hierarchy, about self-introduction, about socialization, and so on. However, because of teamwork, these rituals are becoming less important. So we can achieve this part electronically. So how it will change the level of socialization? How can we find the proper language to use? And how to understand the hierarchy level? This is question is still open. Then, next one. Aisatsu no shikata. Greetings, courtesy visits. And for Japanese business, it's important to visit their clients, their partners, face-to-face communication, and of course, how we greet each other. Again, it's about hierarchy, about rituals. However, because of teamwork, because of digital transformation, this kind of culture might disappear or might be simplified significantly. Next one, decision-making process, or English about Nemawashi process and so on. So this is also a part of Japanese business culture, how to make decisions. And this culture is based on, again, on communication, external communication, face-to-face communication, but it's changing. Telework doesn't allow us to very often, face-to-face. And how can we decide? How can we do Nemawashi process inside the Japanese business? And this question again is open. Work style, oshigoto no shikata, protocols, rituals, forms, so-called kata, and Japanese business is based on that. So this kind of internal things, very hidden for foreigners, but very important for the Japanese. And again, because of telework, many rituals, many protocols, rituals might disappear. And how it might affect Japanese business, still, we don't know. It's just an unfolding process. Then, demonstration of efforts and results. We know the Japanese society, Japanese people, they're much more oriented at ganbaru, do your best. So your efforts are appreciated, but not results. However, business is changing for many, many years. And telework today emphasizes not your efforts, but your results. And it will change the mentality of Japanese employees, Japanese management. Typical salaryman, he might be changed significantly because of this attention to result. Commute time, so how much to travel between work and office and the place where you live. Well, this is something positive. Thanks to telework, employees can stay with their families and they can cut this to commute 2 hours, 3 hours a day can be saved. And at the same time, they can talk with their families. However, we have to keep in mind that, well, for some people, it's a luxury to have big apartments and they have to stay with their families, with their kids, and it might be very difficult, to find proper working environments. It might be noisy, kids might be playing around, your wife might do something, and difficult. So stress, how to communicate, how to find some kind of place where you can find some isolation, where you can do your work. Then, next aspect, commute time. Of course, for Japanese companies, it's important to spend a lot of time in their office, but still, we have some limits. Let's say last train to your home or last bus. When you stay at home, you might work for 24 hours, and Zangi problem overwork might not disappear, but might be, might become much more important. How many hours we spend, and we feel it when we stay at home. When we do something, we might, do many things. Basically, 14 hours, 16 hours per day. Next one, trust, senior. For business, trust, loyalty, socialization are important, and telework cannot help us to establish trustful relations. So trust, a matter of trust might disappear. So how can we trust each other if we don't see? If we don't go somewhere to drink, nomikai communication, this culture, Japanese culture, to go somewhere to eat, to drink, and to become friends, become very close to each other. Senior might at least. Communication style, Hoenso and Zasso. I believe you know about this. Report, contact, consult, or Zasso, Zatsudan, Sodan, so it's about small talks, informal talks, consulting.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you
Yeah.
have about 2 more minutes to go.
Okay, sorry. Thank you so much for this. So
Thank you.
this is something that is key. Then let me go very quickly down. So we spoke about Uchi and Soto. So internal, external society, it might be difficult to understand who is Soto, who is Uchi for business if we use work. Then human resource management, it will be changed for sure. How to employ, lifelong employment, then payment system, result-oriented or effort-related promotion. So many changes are on the way, and we don't know what might appear. But we believe that, please change this slide. Yes, we believe that Japanese management will find a way because, well, Japanese business companies and Japanese society is because of so-called Itokodori to find the best, take the best, improve, and implement. So for it's based on experience, based on publications, based on reports, we can see that first, Japanese companies take new practice, they adapt to some new environments, and then they form new approach. So first they adapt, then make a new model of communication or model of business. So Japanese companies are on the way. They're just trying to see, they're trying to find a way how to set it up, how to find best instrument to be used, and later on a new model will be created. We don't know how much time it might take, maybe 2 years, right, 5 years, but it will be changed. And we have to keep in mind so-called digital cliff that is important for business in Japan, that by 2025, something should be changed. If Japanese companies will not be changed, they will lose competitiveness. And again, third decade of decline. Well, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm so sorry for the time pressure. We have many speakers and we do a very thank you for the great perspective. Okay, so next speaker is the Miss Ikeda and Emi. And then she's a practitioner, but then she's a consultant for many companies. So we will hear what she found on the well-being. Thank you. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting us to present at this conference. It's an honor to present on behalf of my colleagues who have helped me create this presentation. So my name is Emi Ikeda, and I work for a company called Business Consultants, Inc. In short, we call ourselves BCON. Two of my colleagues are here today who have helped me create this presentation. And we would like to talk about well-being and the freedom to make life choices and what we have been doing inside our own company, BCON, and also what we have been providing to our clients to increase well-being of the employees. So let me just briefly introduce our company. Our company is called Business Consultants, Inc., BCON, and we are our consulting and training company founded in 1964. We have been focusing on organization development and cultural change. We have about 450 15 employees, and basically based in Japan and Southeast Asia. But we also work with partners, international partners in 16 different countries, including the Americas, Europe, and Africa. Oh, and you might be wondering what this turtle means for BCON. For BCON, this is a symbol for our sustainability and well-being of our organizations. In turtles, in Japan, stands for longevity and steadiness. And from our foundation, our founders have believed that we do not want to pursue fast or rapid growth of our company, but instead we would like to live long and be steady and grow steadily, and also remain without excess fat. So everyone in our company has a valuable role to contribute to our company. So this turtle for us is a symbol of sustainability and well-being. So we have been recently having a lot of conversations within our own company about sustainability and well-being. Since COVID hit, we had to change our office. We had to also change the way we work with each other. We are also adopting telework and working remotely from different places and from different homes. So we have had a lot of talk about where we want to go in the future, how we need to change the way we work, and how we need to change our business. So there are a lot of initiatives inside our own company to talk about sustainability and well-being and the future. And within those conversations, a lot of employees refer to freedom to make life choices, that we are able to determine our own lives within our company. And that's why they're staying with with Beacon. So this World Happiness Report ranking supports what we want to say. So we pulled it out from the World Happiness Report. This is the happiness ranking. And it was really hard to find where Japan is, but actually we're on this 56th place among 149 countries, and the second lowest ranking among G8 countries. When we look closer, we have found that the item, freedom to make life choices, is not so high in Japan. It's the yellow part. And we have had, my colleagues and I talked about this, and we believe that having the sense of self-determinations and choosing our own lives within Beacon is strongly contributing to our sense of well-being. And also my colleagues and I have been participating in a conference in Japan run by Japan Wellbeing Initiative. It was a wonderful conference, and there were many presentations and insights from the speakers. And some of them did refer to freedom to make life choices and self-determinations within a company or within Japanese society. With the orderly culture of Japanese society, I think we are expected a lot from our colleagues and our families in terms of what roles we should play based on our genders or occupations or positions in the business. So with those social expectations, many Japanese feel that they're not able to make their own choices in life. They have to consider other people to make the right decision. And that sense of lack of choice and lack of self-determination or determining their own lives, I think contributes a lot to the low ranking of happiness and well-being. So why we feel differently at Beacon is because we have been working on ourselves using this approach called the human element. We have been introduced to this approach in 1986. And since then, we brought this approach to Japan and have worked extensively inside our company to really realize the principles of this human element and also offer it to our clients. Sorry. So the human element approach is a set of practices and experience to help us increase our capabilities to tell our own truth, make conscious choices, and become more aware. It's an experiential training and program where we are able to really look into our own truth, what is truth for us, and also make conscious choices and to try to determine our own lives and become accountable for the consequences of our own choices, and thus become more aware of ourselves. eventually, this approach has a whole set of tools and theories and activities within it. But to cut too short, we're eventually looking into self-concept and self-esteem. So the self-concept and self-esteem, we look at it from these 6 dimensions on how I treat myself and how I feel about myself. These 6 dimensions consist of aliveness, how I feel fully alive, and how I'm being fully present, or self-determination, how I'm choosing my own life, and self-awareness, how self-aware am I? Also, how significant and important do I feel about myself? How competent and capable do I feel about myself? And how much do I like myself or love myself? So these are the 6 dimensions. Eventually, we're working towards becoming more aware. And by using these concepts, we try to increase our self-esteem and also be consciously aware and making conscious choices in our day-to-day lives. So this program has been used inside Beacon for the purpose of training for younger employees. We provide this workshop for younger employees who are about 3 to 5 years into their careers, just hitting the wall and really struggling with how thinking about how to increase their performance and happiness inside the company. So we provide this program to our younger employees, but also to our own consultants and practitioners inside Beacon. For practitioners, we have more extensive program that has been traditionally like 2 weeks of the whole experience. So by doing this inside Beacon for long years, we have a shared language to use from this program, and especially around choice and self-determination and awareness. And these language and conversations are embedded in our corporate culture. And we believe from our latest conversations with not only the colleagues who are here today, but many other colleagues, especially younger employees, these concepts of self-determination and choice and awareness seem to be leading to our own empowerment, motivation, loyalty to the company, and engagement. And thus, we think that these concepts are really embedded in our culture and really contributing to our own well-being. This is also offered to our clients at Beacon, we have about 100 or more consultants and practitioners, and we work with, in average, 3,000 organizations per year. And this program has been very popular with our clients because it increases self-esteem of the employees. It also increases the culture of openness within the companies, which is also based on trust and close relationships. Also, it creates psychological safety and teamwork. Also, it strengthens leadership and empowerment of the employees. And we do have a lot of case studies and data that shows that these elements, the human elements of the companies and organizations lead to increased productivity, cost reduction, project runtime, customer satisfaction, sales increase, retention, and safety. We also started to offer it to corporate leaders inside Japan because we believe that corporate leaders have a significant effect on the corporate culture and psychological safety and well-being of their employees. So we not only offer this program for ourselves, but we offer it to our client companies and organizations in various industries. That's leading to the exceptional performance, as I explained earlier. Also, as I said, we provide this to corporate leaders because they have the main role in creating social capital within organizations. Yesterday, when we were participating in this conference by Wellbeing Initiative, many presenters or analysts were referring to social capital, how social capital influences the financial capitals of the companies. And here, again, from the World Happiness Report, we're not so proud of our results. Japan is ranked 132 position in the social capital measures, which is not a good result. So we believe that by offering this to the corporate leaders of Japan, we have been making a lot of progress, that they have learned even more about themselves and are more self-determined and self-aware and are able to build a better relationship with their employees, and thus creating better corporate cultures where people like to work in. So this approach is not only used in Japan. As I said, the approach itself was developed in America, and since then it has spread to many different countries like here. And we do have a team of international practitioners from around the world. And we have our own network of exchanging information and trying to collaborate with each other to create a better world and better workplace. So this is sort of a commercial, but I think that we are sharing the slides later. If so, if you're interested in the human element, we have a website that explains more about the program, and also some YouTube channels where you can meet the international practitioners. So thank you. That was my presentation. Thank you for listening. It was shorter than 20 minutes. So if Dr. Izuka allows, if there are any questions, please go ahead and ask.
Yes, I see. That's wonderful. I think we have about 3 minutes for questions and answers. I really think that your emphasis towards the self-determination is a way that now that many Japanese corporations are trying to emphasize, and then how you find that the reality, and then kind of hesitations and then things like that. Maybe can I get your comments?
Thank you very much. We were struck yesterday, even yesterday when we were at a conference, how many people were talking about this because we felt the same way. So thank you. And thank you, Matthias, for texting me. I will definitely reach out to you in your email. So thank you.
Okay, so if there is no other questions, can I thank you very much to the Emi-san, Ikeda-san, and then that's a very interesting practical presentations, and then see what we are doing in a Japanese in Japanese corporate setting. So let's hear the next speaker. Thank you very much. Yeah. Let's hear the next speaker is the Watanabe-san, and then she will talk about more on the diversity issues and then how organizations are doing. Onegaishimasu.
Dr. Izuka, thank you very much for your kind introduction. Can you hear me well?
Yes, no problem.
Thank you. And can you see my slide?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, great. Thank you. So thank you very much for the opportunity for me to talk a little bit about the migrant workers in Japan who have become a very indispensable part of Japanese economy. And the topic that I will talk is about JP Mirai's challenges to improve well-being of migrant workers in Japan. So what is JP Mirai? I will talk from that very beginning. So JP Mirai stands for Japan Platform for Migrant Workers Towards Responsible and Inclusive Society. And we call this platform JP Mirai. This is a multi-stakeholder platform to promote decent work for migrant workers in Japan. And the membership could be very varied, from corporations to municipalities, local governments, NGOs, private researchers, private individual, anyone who is keen and who would accept to promote the code of conduct that I will introduce later. And this platform is run jointly by JICA, which is Japan International Cooperation Agency, the government institution, and ASK, the Global Alliance for Sustainable Supply Chain. This is an NGO promoting decent work for Japanese companies to promote for their supply chains around the world. And this platform was launched last year, just 1 year ago, and I am the secretariat. We have some members in the secretariat. And why is this platform launched? So I will explain briefly about the background. As early as last year's January, the number of migrant workers, well, foreign workers working in Japan counted 1.66 million, and of which 380,000 are technical intern trainees. And while the Japanese government defined them as trainees, in fact, in reality, these trainees are seen as workforce. Mainly blue-collar workforce, like in agriculture or factories, and in many industries. And for that, Japan has been criticized for the forced labor or discrimination, harassment, the wages, mainly around these technical intern trainees. And what the problems that's been criticized is that there are high recruitment fees for the workers to migrate to Japan, and bonded labor, harassment, wages less than minimum wage, and etc. And as I mentioned, the foreign workers have become a really important part of the Japanese economy and society. We have to move forward and do something about this so that Japan can become a multicultural society, so that everyone is happy with decent work. So these are some of the sad pictures that's been criticized outside of Japan. For example, the BBC, BBC have been televising the problem in Japan about the technical trainees, and also the US Department of State, their trafficking in persons report. 2 years consecutively, Japan was ranked as tier 2, which is not a good state. Japan was the only country in the G7 who were under the tier 2 status. So we need to improve. And so the goal of the JP Mirai is to create a sustainable society and making Japan a trusted destination for workers around the world. And by 2030, we want the members and all companies and all employers to promote decent work and appreciate the value of the foreign workers working in Japan. And we would like to contribute to the SDGs. So let me a little bit explain about the progress that we have made so far. It's been 1 year since we started this activity, and currently there are 350 members, corporations, NGOs, lawyers, researchers, and individuals. And the member list is in Japanese, I'm sorry, but this is on the website, and we've been accepting and doing a small kind of like a criteria check before we accept those membership applications. A lot of them are organizations and companies, but a lot of researchers, like 50, lawyers, like 50, and NGOs, about 50. So there are a lot of individuals who are interested in this topic and who are keen to contribute to making this platform a stage for where we could work together, all of us. Sorry, I think I missed, yeah, sorry, I'm going back some slides to show you what the concept of JP Mirai is before I go on to the actual activities. So the philosophy is that as a society, we aim in Japan for all the workers is to protect the rights of foreign workers and improve working and living conditions, have been considered as global issue, and it's the topic of SDGs. And so as foreign workers have played an important role in Japanese economy and society, we need to address these issues and accept foreign workers responsibly and make Japan a chosen destination to work. And we aim to promote inclusive economic growth and a sustainable society through supporting decent work for foreign workers to live safely and healthily. So we have said that we want to make Japan a chosen destination of work. What this means is that in neighboring Asian countries, there are countries where also the lack of labor force is becoming social issues, like China or Korea, and they also want migrant workers to work in their countries, which means that Japan has to compete and become attractive so that migrant workers would like to come to Japan and enjoy their livelihood, their skills development, capacity building, so that when they go back to their own countries, they have some, they have gained skills, and so that they could contribute to their own country's economic development. So we want to make this circulation, vicious circulation, good circulation of people coming in, learning, enjoying, and going back to the countries and develop their countries as well. So that is the idea that this platform is envisioning. And we have created this code of conduct so that when organizations or people, individuals want to join this platform, they need to commit and they need to promise that they would contribute to at least one of these codes. And as you can see, it's not a really huge. It's not a huge requirement, but when we think about making this happen, all organizations have to be very sincere and diligent in improving how they hire and how they treat the foreign workers fairly and in a really good way. And one key aspect is that we want to expand this idea to the supply chain of the corporations or any organization, even like local governments. They have suppliers, they have stakeholders. So we want the members to promote and disseminate this idea and practice. So let me go back to how we have what we have done so far in the first year. So let me move back. So the progress during the first year one is that we wanted to implement measures to communicate with foreign workers. One of the issues is that we don't hear directly from the foreign workers themselves. We hear from the media about the bad practices, but we don't know what is the overall impression or the feelings of the workers themselves. So what we have been planning, we were in the planning phase, we will be in the implementation phase next year, but the plan is that we want to make a JP Mirai portal, a website for foreign workers so that they can get a lot of useful information even before coming into Japan, so they would know what to expect. And while they are in Japan, they would know where to contact for immediate urgent needs, or even some enjoyable communication matching. So we want the foreign workers to use this portal to engage and communicate, and for them to give us idea what they think. So we will embed the foreign workers' voices survey into this platform, into this portal next year when this becomes available. And another thing that we've been developing, designing so far is the remedy program. This will be a joint effort by the government and also the private sector, where we have this portal as a window of helpline for the foreign workers. So when they have issues or problems, or they want to consult someone on any level of issues, they can come and contact through this portal window. And if there are some serious issues like harassment or recruitment fees and so forth, then at the far end, there will be some legal assistance that they will be able to obtain. So this is a system. In the first year, we've been designing and consulting with various stakeholders whether this is feasible or necessary, and we come to conclude that this is necessary, and now JICA is leading these projects. And another activity that we have done so far is to improve initiatives by the members of JP Mirai. So we've done public seminar series, we've done seminars for members only, we've written articles on the best practices, and moreover, we have asked all the members to submit their annual plan on how they would commit and improve on the 5 areas of the code of conduct that I introduced. And last month, we had our first event on for the members to present their progress. And we had 11 applicants, and we 80 members have participated in this event, and they would check on which presentations they like. And in the public forum that we are holding in 2 weeks, we will announce the winners of those membership best practice. So this is like a peer learning. Some companies always say that, oh, we don't know how to do, we have migrant workers in the supply chain, but we don't know how to improve or how to communicate or how to do the human rights due diligence. They always say that, but we have some examples from the companies, very well-known companies, how they do. And once we could present those practices for different industries, I think the companies and employers have no excuse, and they have some hints to improve. So this is an area that we want to promote from now on as well. But as the first time effort, we will be presenting the winners and in a very short version of their practice presentation at this forum. So if you are interested, please come and register to come to this event. And other activities that we have done so far is make a homepage. This is very minimal, and we need to improve on this. And we had some collaboration events, mainly with JICA. And the last year was really difficult for all the workers, including Japanese, but for the migrant workers as well, for the COVID-19 effect, and many of them lost their jobs. And for those who had nowhere to go, we did do some surveys and research, and JICA had this special training sessions for Vietnamese nationals. And one is that Japanese language training that JICA did for 6 weeks at their JICA training center in Tokyo. And for the Vietnamese people who have lost their jobs, have nowhere to go, they could come here and train Japanese so that they have more opportunity to get a better job in Japan. And another effort is this youth project, which is really, really encouraging. Some of the 350 members are university students. And I really like to share with you that the youngest member is a high school boy, a group of high school students who have established an NGO to promote better understanding with the migrant workers in Japan. And so this is a youth seminar that those university students planned by themselves, and we had an event in October. And with the discussion session, this is some of the ideas that they came up with. So a lot of encouraging aspects, which they said that, okay, they want to communicate, they want to know those migrant workers, and they want to know their cultures, and they want to communicate, and they want to interact. These are some of the, I think, the messages that came out from this youth project. And final example is that with the public seminars that we conducted this year, we had some series of public seminars on recruitment fees and also on remedy programs. What is the ideal? What is the system that we should aim for? So each of them had 4 sessions, and with expertise from that area. And from these discussions, we were really convinced that the JP Mirai remedy system needs to be established, and also early introduction of portal for the foreign workers is a real must. for JP Mirai and for the Society of Japan as well. So from now on, what we would like to do is that these are some of the things that we already plan to do, more events for public and members. And we will launch the portal and remedy system next year in February. And we will conduct foreign worker survey. We will have more best practices stories from members and more dissemination of information of such good practices. We are starting to engage with embassies of foreign countries in Tokyo so that they would know some of the efforts that we are trying to make. And some of them will come to this forum in December. So the final remark from me is a commercial really about this event that we are having on December 6th at Nikkei Hall in Tokyo. We will have an online event as well. So if you are interested, please come and visit. We will have more detailed explanation about what I have just briefly introduced today. So that's all from me. Thank you very much, Dr. Izuka.
Thank you very much, Watanabe-san. And then that this is a great advancement since the last year. And I think we have been talking about kind of about how we make our life, we can make a choice on our life, you know, maybe in the location, like Satori Sensei's, and then Ikeda-san's presentation as well now for the foreign workers. So it's a very, you know, what is the well-being, you know, how we can decide our good life. All right, so thank you very much. So can I share my screen? Okay, so I think I will do a very quick presentation of myself. Let me just share the screen. Okay, I will talk about impact of the gender advancement revolution to the well-being at work in Japan. And then so I will talk about genders. And that's, I would try to be, I like to leave the time for the next speakers. So I would just talk very briefly on, there are many slides, but I will just talk briefly on this. So this year, starting with the Mr. Mori, former Prime Minister designations of the Olympic Committee chair, because he said some a little bit sexist comment, and then now we become very much sensitive to these gender issues. And then so what happened in the sudden awareness on these gender issues in Japan in 2021 or 2022 to 2021 especially, I think it's a significant implication to the many systems, and that's I like to talk about. What are the implications? And it has an implication to the Japanese business system as well as the management system, and then society at large, family systems, and then also individual, how we see ourselves. So it's not just the gender, women, no, it has much more bigger impact, and that's what I like to talk about. So here we go. And so this research is very much qualitative. And then I could interview about 24 corporations, big corporations, and then they are top of the top, I should say. And then thanks to the United Nations Global Compact team, and then there are some talk, okay, we like to know some of the members are in the UN Women's, and they come up with a report, and then they ask the people to, the companies to, okay, do you want to share your cases? And actually there are many companies, 25 and 29, 6 companies who share who like to share, but then they could only list the 2 companies or 3 companies. Therefore, that I said, okay, let's do the case studies, and then I did the interview with those companies from February to April 2020, each company about an hour. And this is the list of the companies which I have interviewed, starting with Asahi Shimbun, Ajinomoto, ANA, etc., to the Tobu Corporation, SoftBank, Yamaha, etc. So it's really many representing Japan. Okay, so just very briefly on the Japanese gender gap situation, it's 120s. And then that we haven't been quite low, it's terrible. And then inside of the 120s, that educations are not that bad, health and education not bad, but then that the economic participation and political empowerment is terrible. Economic is 117th, but then the political empowerment is 0.061, and then I don't want to talk about it. This is like a 147th. It's really it's like many so-called developing countries are much above Japan, and then so that the wage gap is I will just show the slide because of the time. Just it's very clear. This is a mainstreaming career path. Nurse care is a very important thing now in Japan, but then in the women's 61%. The family system also binding the women, and it leaves the job. This is terrible. The child rearing hours, and then with the children under the age of 6, wife 434 minutes, husband 83 minutes. Maternity leaves people take, but then the male employees taking paternal leave is 7%. So it's very clear that who is taking care of the family. I like to point out, it's not just the women issue. It's a 10-year-old boy who thinks boys should be manly is 77%. It's not bad, but there is a pressure. And male suicide rate related to the economic programs 8 times more than the women. So there are pressures to the men, and that's I think it's a very important point. And so when we think about that these gender issues, we really have to think about not only the just the women not going up, what is this, what's wrong? No, it's much deeper. It's related to the social system, management system, family system, and then we try to do, everybody try to survive harmoniously according to the diversity of the capitalism theory. And then we have been working on it, but apparently it's not working very right, so we need a new system. And we have been working as the corporations as social security. I think the first speakers talk a lot, but it has all the details. The management system is a long-term employment, and seniority, women's is a really the adjustment. And then so it was, I like to point out, it's not just the women's, victims. It can be in a long term it became victim, but it was kind of convenient for everybody, so that it was prolonged, and then the system was, if the system convenient for everybody, it stays. And then but eventually that the under subconscious systems that can be created, and then there is a kind of a skewed pressure to the men, and then skewed pressure to the families and the population's issues we face. So that this gender equality, if we just say this is like a women thing, but it's a petty thing, but it is not actually. It's related to the entire society, and including the individual. So what's happened is this is a case of Asahi Shimbun, and they try to come up with the kind of a gender market, I should say, that they try to make various efforts to change the society. but they also try to change the management and then try to address the family. Daiwa House is another example that they try to come up with the house, which is that the men can like to help women more on the house core. And then also they come up with the women's, using a very light helmet, but actually that was very much liked by the senior engineers as well. So that there are many things they try to change and then try to address the family system. Izaki Griko come up with that kind of a application, they say cooperation, it's a nurturing the children's, and then but also they get a good data about the customers. So there's a lot of efforts, not only within the inside of the companies, but then they try to address these issues in the society. And another thing, I cannot put the name on it, but this is one big, that one of the very famous top K-Let's company, and then they try to overhaul the human resource, HRM, and they have conducted like 600 times of the women meeting, and then so the women thing is not just the women thing, but they really try to change the entire system. So what the things I like to talk is that the gender revolution is not just the women thing. It seems there is a genderless or kind of a gender market because the people are concerned about it. Or in the inside of the corporations, that the gender issues triggered. This is the blue side is before, and then this moved to the kind of the gender, the law, or the gender kind of ambiguity of the being the gender become larger, and then so it become much more cross-border thing. And now that the people talk about unconscious bias training, which is very much related to the psychological or the untold culture issues, and then therefore that they have experienced a lot of a dialogue within the organization, which is very interesting. So with those corporations and then the families, that how we've shaped has been changing, that the family has been a part of the corporation system, but now we have a much more clear separations on it, and that the identity of the women or identity of the men are changing, and then or at least there is awareness about it. And then therefore, it seems that the dynamism within the corporations and that the mental, how we try to choose our own path seems to be a change. It has been affected a lot. So well, this is about the Europe, but let me just skip. And then so that the conclusion is that it seems there is a rewriting of the system. We talk about gender, but then it's not only the gender, but it has so much impact to the Japanese business system, or maybe the Japanese business system need to change, and then this gender become one of the critical point. And then so it's not just the business; it's like an industry-wide, like a construction industries, and then the management. Of course, there are a lot of changes within the management system that, like big multinational companies I just mentioned, has a now they ask the employees to decide their own career path. So this is the same tone that we have been talking about, that you think about your own career, and then you decide, and then you apply for certain positions, and that's a part of this gender mainstream thing. And because of that, the family, father, mother, Lord, seems there is a therapy trying to address it. And then that the individual self-esteem issue that Ikeda-san mentioned, that has been very much discussed in this women's self-esteem, etc. And then that is kind of openly discussed along this the gender rhetoric. So the point is that it's not only the women, but it's men or etc. included, and then that the well-being leading to the meaning with the well-being can be various, but then we try to do a meaningful life and then decide on it, and it seems to be that is widening. So that's my conclusion. Thank you very much. I finished 1 minute earlier than supposed to be. So I'm so sorry. This session, we don't have much of the time for the question and answer. Let's see how it goes. All right. Thank you very much. So the next speaker is Kuriyama Sensei.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you have about 25 minutes until 4:13. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mari Izuka Sensei. And thank you for Ernst. And I enjoyed the previous speakers with great slides. And I am very happy to make a presentation with my student and colleagues of the business department of Soka University, one of the super globalized university assisted by Ministry of Education of Japan. We have a great sympathy with humanistic management, and we invited Ernst and other scholars relating to humanistic management networks to our guest lecturers at Soka University in Tokyo. Japanese human resource management, that is my topic today, attracted many academics and business persons in 1980s because of the high competitiveness in the world business at that time. But we have had so-called lost 30 years since then. Our economy has been stagnated for a long period, but still now, I believe we have kept some strengths at workplaces in terms of social stability, maybe low unemployment rate, and social well-being. Although it is very difficult to find out the good points of Japanese management, especially in terms of human rights, gender gaps, happiness, and the social capitals. The previous speakers pointed out a lot of challenging issues for Japan. But I have been involved in the technical cooperations programs to Asian countries on Japanese human resource management and industrial relations for the last 20 years, focusing on good points of Japanese management, especially high commitment of workers and collaborative attitude of Japanese employees at working places. So it is difficult, but I believe we have some good points to be applied. Not direct applications, but could be some studies for others. Okay. And I have been excited to discuss the strengths and weaknesses of Japanese HRM with the international business student and managers. Today, I asked our graduate student to report lessons learned from my course, because I know they understood my lecture very lightly and very deeply with their own observations. So fortunately, two graduate students, Ms. Goldie Singh from Malaysia and Mr. Sanji Park from South Korea, kindly accept my request to present their learning outcomes for only 3 minutes. Sorry for that, but I really appreciate your contributions. So first of all, Lee Sin-san, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, I will end my slides.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kuriyama Sensei. Let me share my slide. Okay, right. So, okay. All right. First of all, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone that is joining in from different regions. Thank you so much for giving me such a great opportunity to present during this session. So I'm Lisin from Malaysia. I'm actually a master's student of International Business Studies program with Soka University. So today I would like to share with you about what I learned and my perspective about Japanese human resource management. So I would like to dive into this one. So when we talk about industrial relations, it is more like a, what do you call that? It is actually, industrial relations are meant to increase the productivity and competitiveness, in which Japanese HRM are doing really well in this. So I would like to quote the case of Konosuke Matsushita. I think everyone knows about Panasonic. He's actually the founder of Panasonic. And Matsushita-san actually fitted in the concept of humanity in workplace. So he was actually deemed to be the most respectful managers in Japan. So the company is actually, you know, a place for employees to realize their humanity and growth, which is something that is very, very precious. So another thing that I would like to highlight is about the organizational citizenship behavior. So because of Japanese HRM, you know, when you first join in to the company, you get a fair treatment, then definitely everyone will be happy, and also secondly, fair outcome, and then it will actually, you know, contribute to the fair process as well. So again, Konosuke Matsushita-san, he actually talked about human-centered approach a lot, and this is also has been used in Japanese management. What are the things that has been used? Employment security, in-house training, humanity and morality, responsibility to the customer, suppliers, and local community, long-term stakeholders management, and so on and so forth. So there are 3 steps in terms of like, you know, how he or this human-centered approach has actually, you know, kind of like applied. So number 1 is unconditional respect towards human dignity. So when we talk about workplace, we talk about human, we talk about people, interactions between the employees and the employers. So now I would like to talk about negative and positive liberty. So negative liberty is something like, okay, you're asking me to do overtime work, but no, I say no to it. No to it. No means no. But then for positive liberty is, okay, how can I avoid having overtime work? Can I improve my efficacy in my work? So that is considered positive liberty. So Matsushita-san, he actually believed in the unlimited potentials of his employees. Okay, so this is number 1. Number 2, it is about open-minded and listen to others carefully. How much do they listen to another person? So number 3, it is about the, you know, how do they hold a deep down dialogue and engagement with the stakeholders, like the shops that has been holding their products. How do they move on? You know, a very happy and you know, very happy corporations in the long run. So this is also very, very important. And you know, as a Malaysian, Malaysia is a very multicultural country. So of course, we have different kinds of companies coming into Malaysia. But the thing is, I think this human-centered approach should be applied universally around the world, okay? Because when there is human being, this should be the right way. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Rishin-san. Great presentations. Okay, next speakers is Mr. Sanji Park. You have the floor. You can share your slides, or you can do anything.
So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present. And so a basic background about myself is I'm South Korean, but I've been in executive search for the past 10 years in different countries. So while taking Kuriyama Sensei's class, I came across this subject of recruitment in Japan, mainly in a large corporation. But then what's interesting about this is right after graduation for these youth from university, they're recruited straight from the company. And the recruitment is not really based on their specialty. It's more on their potential for growth and current character. So, I mean, it's really different from other countries because as most of you know, like if you're in the US or maybe like other parts in Asia, you're basically on your own. So you'll be focused on job hunting without much support from your university. So what's interesting about this is when you join the company through this method, the organization actually helps you develop your skills. And in this way, the company is investing their time and money to employees. And through this method, they're slowly building their careers. Basically, this is a win-win scenario. But like I said, this is what's Japanese recruitment since the 80s. But I think it's changing over time because there's more and more westernized companies like Amazon or Google entering Japan. So I'm pretty sure they have a different approach. The next thing I found really interesting is the job reassignment in Japan. Basically, a big company can reassign the employee to a completely different company. So this actually is interesting because they're actually utilizing their company's resources and capital to maximize profit and loss. And I guess in this kind of a model, you don't really see this in different countries, right? So, well, I mean, mutual understanding and trust is needed for such a program to work. So based on my experience, I mean, this is very unique for Japan. So this will be the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanji Parks. It is very nice presentations of what you learned in my course. Thank you very much. So based on these things, I will touch on very briefly on the challenging issues for the social well-being during the pandemic in Japan, using very extensive surveys on these situations. So I focus on social well-being, although there are three kinds of well-being: physical well-being, psychological well-being, and social well-being. And concerning Japanese human resource management, social well-being is a very interesting aspect. This is the situations of telework by the research institute. The Japan Institute for Labor Policy is a government-associated research institute, and they did a very extensive, quite extensive sample surveys. And this is the peak of the pandemic. So this is the peak. So managerial positions had a very large to large extent they have teleworking, but suddenly last year suddenly the share was declined, and it was stagnated here. And this is full-time workers, regular workers, and this is atypical workers, including part-time workers and contract workers. So after the peak, the share of teleworking was declined. And this is share by industries. So this is blue line suggest manufacturing industries. So again, this is a peak, but it declined and stabilized at this rate. And this is services and retails and hotel and restaurants industries. And you know, about productivities by telework, according to this surveys, teleworking is not so successful in Japan. So 66% of the company responded that productivity was decreased. So in terms of productivities, it was not so successful. And this is most recent surveys by newspaper, Yomiuri newspapers. So for the major companies, 125 major companies responded that they will decrease the share of teleworking. Although the company don't change is 56%, but 28% said responded that they will decrease the teleworking. And physical well-being, about the stress, physical stress, definitely it has been increased. Yes, up to January this year, it is evident physical stress was increased. And also psychological stress has been, increased. Yes. And this is a little bit, complex graph, but let's see the bottom graph first. So this shows the Japanese companies' biggest challenge is communications here. So they recognized biggest challenges is communications. And this is the rate of company who has no reaction, no measures for solving communications. So this is the biggest. And this is the problems of monitoring and evaluation. This is issues for managerial positions, managers. So they recognize this is very difficult, but look at this orange graph. This shows there is no reactions, no measures to solve this monitoring and evaluations. So for management, for supervisions or monitoring, the teleworking is a little bit problems. There is no effective measures. This was surveys on April this year. Why this is very difficult for Japanese companies? That is one concept. The Ikeda-san mentioned about human element, but we have another word of human moment at workplaces in persons. Human moment means face-to-face encounter that allows empathy, emotional connections, and non-verbal are to complement what is actually said. So this is, fostering well-being. And human moment is very important because this is a source of momentum, energy for work, humanization of work, creating a sense of community, space for working cultures, and so on. So important for workplace working, since the core of the knowledge cannot be expressed by words. Okay, so for example, this is the well-known principles, 3 principles of on-the-job training in Japanese workplaces, which is very well-known training. This is effective, efficient. This is effective and very cheap because training are operated at workplaces. And this is very effective because co-workers can teach next to the workers, junior workers. So effective and efficient. So that is 3 principles: set example, show models, job assignment, practice alone. And third principle is personal contract, support by request. So this means importance of non-verbal signals in communication and workplace planning and teaching. So this is a strength of Japanese management on the job training are realized through not teleworking. So this is possible reason. Because Japanese society is high context society, as you know. So high context society, people have some experience, same experience, sorry, feeling and values in their background for communication. People are expected to guessing society, the environment of surroundings. Japan is considered as one of the most highest context society. Okay, that is one approach which is different from usual approach, which might be Japanese approach. So in Western countries, top-down approach is a common approach. So this is one-dimensional applications to the ideal situations. You have models. How do we close to the ideal situations? But on the other hand, bottom-up approach, this is interactive approach to improve the reality fast and building trust and stimulating creativities. So Japanese Kaizen, for example, Kaizen is a continuous improvement, like 5S, is coming from workplaces, so from the bottom. The many suggestions are coming from the bottom to the up. So this is bottom-up approach. So this is very, integral part of Japanese management. So this is, in a sense, human-centered approach. This is flexible, long-term, and based on voluntary actions. So these are Japanese strengths of workplaces. So as a solution, the entire topics of the conference is solutions. As many speakers said, so important thing is best mix at workplaces. Apart from dichotomy, we cannot decide telework or office work, but and also we have to be apart from profit maximization thinking. So as Rishin-san of my students said, positive liberty is very important. Positive liberty is coming from voluntary choices by workers. So choice, conscious choice. Yes, that's the word. Conscious choice is very important for positive liberty. This is sustainable, and safety and health, mindfulness is very important, and social being is very important. So Japanese business persons, business managers, always discussing their working, but there's no fixed answers. So they are exploring the best mix of teleworking and working in persons. So, but this mix should be decided by voluntary options and selections, options, choices. So best mix of productivity and human factors. That would be a solution for humanistic management. Okay, this is my concluding summary of the presentation. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Okay, so next student. And next presenter would be Tsujizuka-san.
Yes.
Just for 5 minutes, 5 minutes presentation. Sorry
Okay.
for the short presentations.
Okay, no problem.
About enabling approach. Now you have a floor.
Okay, so thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Hideyuki. I'm a PhD student at Soka University Graduate School, writing a doctoral thesis regarding industrial relations, business and human rights, and international labor standards. And today, I'd like to talk about enabling approach for well-being at workplaces. First of all, I'd like to talk about enabling approach. Enabling approach is one of approaches to promote international labor standards, in particular, the ratification of the ILO's fundamental conventions promote the ratification of other labor standards, including occupational safety and health, which is very important constituent for well-being at workplaces. And this picture shows this is top-down approach. And there are several initiatives on this approach. For example, labor provisions in trade agreements is one of them. The number of trade agreements, which include labor provisions, is currently increasing. And the labor provisions contain the statement on the ILO's fundamental conventions. And another example is global framework agreements. Although trade agreements are agreements between countries, global framework agreements are agreements between employers and workers. And the number of global framework agreements is also increasing with the statement on the ILO's fundamental conventions. So there are more initiatives regarding this approach. However, when we look at the real situation, there are several challenges. For example, this is a PowerPoint slide regarding the ratification of fundamental conventions in ASEAN countries. And looking at the convention regarding freedom of association, right to organize and collective bargaining, only 3 countries, Laos, Indonesia, and the Philippines ratified the 2 conventions. And even though these 3 countries ratified the 2 conventions, implementation is another challenge for these 3 countries. So because of several reasons, it is difficult to ratify fundamental conventions in ASEAN countries. Under this situation, another aspect of enabling approach gathers attention. As I explained, basically, enabling approach is the effect from the fundamental conventions to other labor standards, and it's top-down approach. On the other hand, more recently, bottom-up approach gathers attention. In other words, the effect from other labor standards which are more practical to the fundamental conventions gathers attention. For example, there is a project called Vision Zero Fund in Myanmar, and the project tried to enhance well-being at workplaces in ginger and garment industry. And one of the important points of this project is under this project, workers organizations are unionized, which are very important foundation for sound industrial relations to promote well-being at workplaces. So this is just one example, and the number of this kind of project is also increasing. So to summarize, today I talked about enabling approach from 2 aspects, from top-down and bottom-up. And the bottom-up is one of Japanese strengths, and as Professor Kuriyama explained before, I think this bottom-up approach is very important because it will support to build a foundation, which is very important for sound industrial relations. And this foundation will promote well-being at workplaces in the future. So that's all, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. And sorry for that time was short, but the next speaker is the Dr. Shimura.
Hello, can you see my slide or not yet? Yes. Let me share my screen. Hold on a second. Can you see the screen? Okay.
Yes.
Good, good. Hello, everyone. My name's Dr. Shimura. I'm a faculty of Soka University. And what I would like to present is humanistic leadership, post-COVID-19, and the VUCA from the Buddhist perspective. And 10 minutes, so you gotta keep up, and so if you have to slow down, please ask me any question anytime. So today's rapid world, as you know, called VUCA, volatile, uncertainty, complex, ambiguity world. And I believe COVID pandemic certainly made the environment much so. And the challenges now VUCA world call for business model innovation and trying to help organizations to thrive. And also, this is also no doubt that pandemic has exposed weakness of leadership among various institutions at cost of human lives. While many leadership arguments has been centered around the Western philosophy, and I think in order to feel the culture of missing piece, another viewpoint from the Eastern philosophy, Buddhist, is explored in this presentation. So I try to emphasize with humanistic value, and I name it humanist leadership, inspired by 3 Japanese philosophers and educators, Makiguchi, Toda, and Ikeda, with analogy of VUCA 2.0. And I will explain what the VUCA 2.0 later, but let me just keep going. So really biggest question you find is that really COVID-19 has brought light to several inequalities, including income equality within and between nations. And Campanella find that usually the previous pandemic has typically led to the reduction of inequality in the past. But look at now, stock market. As you know, US stock market hitting the historical high. However, there is no evidence of neither economic recovery nor respite from the COVID-19 pandemic. So what did this mean after all? So regardless of this type of leadership that we'd like to discuss, I believe that the leadership in the post-COVID-19 should be based on humanistic value. I think that's the theme for this network, I believe. And it is important to execute the challenge with humanistic point or viewpoint or management with moral and ethical restraints. So this is merely definition of humanistic management, so you can read it. But really what I'm trying to say is that the new leadership should be based on humanism, and I call it humanistic leadership, which pursue sustainability and prosperity at no cost of human lives. This is my really my message. So in order to introduce this, humanistic leadership, let me just say Makiguchi introduced concept of humanitarian competition. And what is that? And Ikeda explained that this humanitarian competition compels a confrontation of reality of competition while ensuring it is conducted firmly based on human value. So in other words, it brings forth synergistic reaction between humanitarian concern and competitive energies. But however, Makiguchi introduced this theory about a century ago, but I think the military, political, and especially economic competition are being intensified around the world. And we see newspaper every day today, COVID-19 or another political issues may well have enhanced these conventional definition of the competition. So we're in a threat now. So now what's a VUCA? As I mentioned, it's a volatile, uncertainty, complex, ambiguous. And George, that's his name, he was an ex-CEO of Medtronics, the US medical equipment companies. And he defined VUCA 2.0 as vision, understanding, courage, and adaptability. So basically, George think that is, okay, now we're not VUCA, but we're gonna face VUCA 2.0 to change the world, how we should organize toward a better future. So George described vision as ability to see through the chaos, have a clear vision of organization. And during a pandemic, highly effective leaders have set clear direction. So I think, some of the high effective leaders already implement this, George's ideas. Now, how about from the Buddhist, Buddhist viewpoint? And I would use Kosen Rufu, which is world peace through the individual happiness. I think this will be a ideal vision for leaders in post-COVID-19 world. So Kosen Rufu originally defined as movement to communicate highest principle of peace to people of all classes, nations through correct philosophy of teaching Nichiren. So it sounds propaganda for some of you, but that's okay. But Balazos and Poo 2017 defined the same terminology as enduring the global harmony and peace through individual happiness, or vision of peace as a product of universally accepted value anchored on unwavering respect for dignity of human lives. So here, I use what's Kosen Rufu as ready for what Varese and Poo mentioned. We need vision of peace with respect for the dignity of human lives. So next is uncertainty, we call understanding. So what George defined as understanding says it involves in-depth knowledge of the company, capability, and strategies. And also George further defined that importance of listening and engagement. As we know, this is very important. To reinforce one's viewpoint carries great risk of missing other perspectives. So in a Buddhist viewpoint, we agree with the dialogue. And Nichiren thought that powerful engagement through honest belief of human dignity rather than authoritative dignity. So that's what sometimes organization faces, just what is the dignity? Is it authoritative dignity or human dignity? So Ikeda also analyzed that it is a face-up proposition that all people possess infinite potentials and a capacity to bring forth their unique and essential dignity. So in other words, really the dialogue should have come from belief in other people's potential and capacity to bring forth. That we believe this is what understanding all about. Third component is courage. George advised that a leader needs the courage to step up to these challenges and make bold decisions. Of course, that involves the risk, often may go against the grain. So how what the Buddhism taught is that I think, to explain the concept of the courage from the Buddhist perspective, Nietzsche introduced the concept of many in body, one in mind, which illustrate importance of unity to bring the courage to act. So really, courage should not come from within, but it should come with the unity to bring the courage to act. You have a courage, but with no action, there is no world peace. The final component is adaptability. So the basically, George defined this adaptability as a flexible in adapting rapid changing environment. And I like this George's, definition, but I think I found a little bit too weak. So I use Calgary's and McKinnon's definition. They say adaptability is a skill to adapt demands of the context when needed. Okay. And also McKinnon Baker say ability to adapt faster, smarter than the situation, which makes a powerful difference between adapting just to cope or adapting to win. I think this is a very key word, for this session. So in a Buddhist perspective, I think oneness of life and its environment, or in other words, non-duality of life and its environment, I think may well fit this core characteristic of adaptability required by the new leadership. And to illustrate some few words, that Nietzsche illustrates this concept by saying, if the mind of living being are impure, the land is also impure. But their minds are pure, so their land's pure. So there are no two lands, pure or impure in themselves. Difference lies solely in the good and evil of our mind. So what I tell you is that environment yourself is the same. You bring the environment, and there's no bad, right or wrong human being. So I think we have to go there. Okay. And finally, the Japanese word for crisis or risk comprise two Chinese characters, danger and opportunity. I think COVID-19 offers us opportunity to rethink the type of leadership in a modern era. As my conclusion, I think COVID-19 brought unplugged economic system and widen inequality, and we more become VUCA. But I think really overcome these challenges to foster sustainable social foundations based on humanistic competition. Really, leaders require different mindset based on humanistic value with a vision, understanding, courage, and adaptability. And really, Buddhism has taught us the fundamental block of vision that self-motivated, positive change with the inner life of individuals would bring about change on the environment. Even with clear vision, business leaders must engage stakeholders to unify toward a common goal of humanistic competition, which is coexistence of economic prosperity and sustainability. So as a conclusion, more commonality than difference among two approaches, the humanist leadership is considered more comprehensive approach, which focus on sustainability and broader view of the leadership of any organization. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Shimura. And okay, I think I was hoping to have some, at least one question or so, but I don't think we have a time. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining this session. We have I like to close on time, and then I think we talk a lot about changes and then of the societies, a part of it, and then I hope we can put all those things together. All right, so thank you very much, Ernst. We finished this session.
Thank you very much, Mari. This was exciting and interesting for me, and a million questions I would have, but we will have time to discuss them on another day.